Guild Wars 3 could be the next big MMO. ... but by the Lazy Peon. Great MMO. Great MMO guy. We gotta see what the butt is. I'm interested. I like his stuff.
As MMO fans, we've had a very
pretty positive guy. Pretty level-headed, pretty base stuff. I like him. So we'll see what he has to say. And then we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
rough couple of years. We've had cancellations, games that failed to live up to the hype, as well as promising
Ashes of Creation. I hyped Ashes of Creation up. Granted, I ain't put no money in it. I never put $1 in it, but I was gassing it up to my WoW brethren. My wait till Ashes of Creation hits.
MMOs ruined by their monetization. It's all become very tiring, but one thing has persisted and
in real life threatening, these guys just don't look threatening at all, but they just popped up like these evil villains.
Even grown stronger through all of this. And that's people's appreciation for the MMOs that do consistently show up and deliver quality updates over multiple years. MMOs that respect the time of the player, understand the player base, and genuinely try to build a world that players can escape to for a decade or even longer. Guild Wars 2 has without a doubt been one of those beloved games ever since it was released back in 2012, which is why Guild Wars 3 has been such a highly anticipated announcement ever since rumours started circulating about its development since early 2024. And on June 5th, 2026, Guild Wars 3 was officially announced by ArenaNet during the Summer Games Fest, and honestly, I was quite surprised.
That was the day. That was the day I decided. I decided I was going to hop in Guild Wars 2, and I was going to give it a shot. I was like, all right, it's gotta be good. I've had people tell me to play it. I thought it was just going to be some generic old game. And I was wrong.
Because up to this point, the general consensus was that if Guild Wars 3 was in development, then it'd be super early concept stages, and we probably wouldn't see it until 2030. Yeah. However, the announcement trailer slates fall 2027 for when the first beta test is scheduled. The announcement trailer even came with some in-engine footage, so not only was it confirmed, but it also seems further along in development than we had imagined. In this video, I'll talk about everything we know about Guild Wars 3 so far.
What do y'all think about the art style? I like it. I feel like it's like, I would say Fortnite-ish, but not really at the same time. But I think it's, I like it. I think it's like a nice little updated graphics in Guild Wars 2.
As well as give you my own thoughts and potential concerns after some of the info that's came out. But before we begin, please support the content by listening to today's sponsor. Throne & Liberty just dropped The Frozen Divide, and if you haven't logged in for a while, now is a good time to change that.
I think I played Throne & Liberty for maybe like 3 days. I really did like it. I honestly liked it. I liked the movement. I liked the world. I liked how you could turn into the animals depending on like the terrain. If you were flying, you turn into a bird. If you were swimming, I think an otter. I could be like a wolf or a lion or something if I wanted to run around. I liked it. I thought it was cool. I just didn't have anyone to play with. And I wonder what if something else came out at the time. But I think the issue was the crafting. I think it got I don't know how gacha it is from a personal perspective, but I think it gets to a point to where it's pay to win. But I thought it was cool, the big massive, guild or big massive world wars that you could have in it. Should we check out Throne & Liberty? Let's see.
This update adds Nyx, a frozen tundra region packed with 25-player triggered field events that you can glide across using the Aether suits. It's a proper new area to get lost in. The item system has also been overhauled. Progression now focuses on chasing stronger gear rather than endlessly upgrading what you already have, which makes the grind feel a lot more rewarding. The level cap has been pushed to 60 as well, so veteran players have something new to actually work towards. There's also a brand new weapon class, the Gauntlets, which can switch between an offensive.
You just beat tail. I rock a great sword. I rock a wand. I rock a staff. And then you got someone that's just like, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad for just straight up fisting.
damage mode and a defensive tank mode, 2 roles in 1 weapon. For PvP fans, Remnants of Nyx is an extraction style mode where you can drop in with up to 4 players, gather rewards, and have to make it out alive to keep them. On the PvE side, 2 new endgame co-op dungeons have been added, Stone Grave Cradle and Frostbreath Cave. Elite enemies across Elysium have also been replaced with tougher variants that drop better rewards, so even the open world has more bite to it. Check it out using my link in the description. Back to Guild.
How popular is, what is it? What's the site? I never do this, honestly. 24-hour peak, about 8,000, about almost 6, so about 5,700, a little over. Peak Sunday. Is that like a reset day? Oh no, that's each day. So it peaks at about 8,000, 9,000, about 3. And nobody was playing it on this day, on Tuesday. Happens on Tuesday and Thursday. Is that good? All right, let's compare. Let's compare. Let's hit a compare. Okay, so it's more than Guild Wars 2. I mean, Guild Wars 2 started going crazy once they announced Guild Wars 3. All-time peak was 10,000. Moly. So the people that play it, play it. This, everybody peaked. Everybody was like, what's this new game? And they were like, eh. And it's just been that. All right. That's probably when this hit, when what he was talking about. No, June 25th. When did this video come out? 4 weeks ago? Yeah, about a month ago. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody played again. And they've been playing. Playing the new expansion. What do y'all think? Should we check it out? Okay. I don't know. We'll look into it. We're busy with Guild Wars 2,
and I just want to say it's so nice that I get to make a video where I can talk about some good news for once. And it seems like the overall reaction from the MMO community towards the Guild Wars 3 announcement has been overwhelmingly positive. This isn't the usual blind hype-fueled hopium. It's optimism and excitement that one of the biggest MMO devs with a great track record is taking a swing at a new game. People are hyped for Guild Wars 3 for the same reason why people are hyped for the Riot MMO. Even though we don't know too much about the game, we trust that the people behind it will be able to make something worth playing.
I have never once played League of Legends. I actually downloaded it. I downloaded the game and still never played it. I legitimately went and was like, let me try Guild Wars first. And then we've been on that ever since. I haven't even booted League of Legends up. I know nothing about the lore. Or like, I know nothing about any of it. Do we have any League of Legends fans? Do y'all think that's going to be the game?
So what exactly do we know about Guild Wars 3 so far? Well, the game's set over 1,000 years before the events of the original Guild Wars, so this is a prequel. It takes place in the Tyrian region of Or, which long-term Guild Wars fans will know is a region absolutely dripping in lore and magic. You play as a Veil Warden, which is basically a guardian of the land tasked with protecting these nature spirits called Veil Spirits. And rival guilds are in conflict over whether to protect or exploit the magic of Or. In a follow-up dev diary on June 11th, ArenaNet went deeper into the setting. This version of Or is set during what they call the Golden Age. The human gods are still actively present in the world, which is a huge deal for lore fans, because the gods abandoning Tyria is one of the most significant events in Guild Wars history. It's set before the first Guild War, which is the actual conflict that the entire franchise is named after, so we could potentially witness the origins of the Guild Wars themselves. ArenaNet also said,
you know, I did not think too much into it when they said it was a prequel, but how long do you have that? How long can that game go on? Like the pacing is super important, and like how far back you go, I guess, right? Like how long can you keep the game going? Because the end is inevitable, right? We know where the end leads to, like on the story, the Guild War, and then where we've been playing Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2. So like, how do you work the pacing on that? Or does it even matter? Honestly, does that even matter? Because doesn't Star Wars have an MMO? Like from the old Republic days? Yeah, still going. I guess you could just make it work.
that the story starts from a much more grounded place. It's about people and a guild trying to find their place in the world, rather than another world-ending dragon threat from day one, which honestly sounds refreshing after how escalated Guild Wars 2's story got towards the end. One of the biggest new features ArenaNet are pushing for Guild Wars 3 is a momentum-based movement system. The game director described it as the joy of movement, and the way it works is that you can run.
How long is the WoW expansion that comes out afterwards going to implement this system? How long? I think it's going to be direct. Like, the next direct expansion is going to implement this. Guarantee it.
Slide, leap, wall run, even glide, and your speed carries over between these different movement modes, so you can build up momentum, then transfer that into more damage when you eventually get into combat. On paper, this sounds...
Bro, how sick is that? So does that mean like you could like run and jump off like a ledge with like a great sword or a hammer and just boom? Or like have a mount and then jump off the mount and hit it and do like extra damage, bro? Oh my gosh. Just straight automatic stun, automatic crit.
It's really cool, and we already know from Guild Wars 2 that ArenaNet has the most fun mount movement system in the entire MMO genre.
100%.
It seems like they're trying to do something to revolutionize your actual character movement, just like they did with mounts. And this is also going to translate directly into the combat feeling more unique too, from the way they've described it. When it comes to mounts, every player gets something called a Seeker, which is like this wolf spirit mount that connects you to the world of Ore. You can see it in the trailer, and it kind of reminded me of the Guild Wars 2 Warclaw mount that you get from World vs. World. Given how beloved the Guild Wars 2 mount system is, I'd also expect the mounts in Guild Wars 3 to also have top-tier animations, lots of cosmetics.
So, as far as I know, the next thing we get is a glider in Heart of Thorns, I think, right? Ooh, excuse me. What's the next mount? We got the Warclaw. We got the right there, that probably didn't come out until Heart of Thorns or Path of Fire, huh?
And perhaps have some unique interactions in the world. In terms of playable races, Guild Wars 3 will likely be a bit different to Guild Wars 1 and 2 due to the game taking place 1,000 years prior. We'll obviously have humans. Asura seem likely since they're in the concept art, but the big one is that Kodan could be a playable race. These are the big bear people from Guild Wars 2. They've never been playable before. The community have been begging for them for years, and we can see them in the trailer. If there was ever a time to add them as a playable race, this would be it.
Come on.
Char seem unlikely as a race to make it into Guild Wars 3 because during the time the game's set in, they're still at war with the humans. Sylvari haven't even been born yet, so they probably won't make it in. And other potential playable races could include the dwarves and Tengu, as it makes sense timeline and lore-wise, but...
That actually looks sick. That actually looks sick. As long as, like, they make the birds, look like, if you wanted to be a warrior, you could be like a diesel eagle, you know what I mean? Like, that's where in Dragonflight they messed up. When you made the evoker, you were always that skinny ass nerd dragon. Like, bro, come on. And it sucked too because you're running around the world and you see like they had big diesel dragons, bro. Like, if I wanted to be a Death Knight or a warrior or a paladin or something, why couldn't I be like a big diesel dragon? Or even if I wanted to be a rogue or something like that, why couldn't I be like I didn't have to be Big Diesel, but did I have to be like, oh no, they just look like a skinny, lanky nerd dragon, bro. But the bird, like, I could see you still being tough, like, especially with this build right here.
This is all just speculation. When it comes to business model, Guild Wars has long had this motto of buy once, play forever. And it seems like Guild Wars 3 will be no different. In an interview with IGN, Colin said there will be no subscription and no battle passes, and that players are sick of battle passes, which is 100% true.
Yep.
Personally, I'd expect the monetization of Guild Wars 3 to be similar to Guild Wars 2, which is considered to have one of the most fair business models in the entire MMO genre. It doesn't print cash like some of NCSoft's other more aggressive short-term titles, but it consistently pulls in around $60 to $70 million a year, which has made it one of the most stable revenue generators in NCSoft's entire portfolio. Basically proof that you can make good money without screwing over your players. If only NCSoft took this approach with all of their games. As for platform,
as we saw, like when I pulled up the stats and you saw Throne and Liberty, which it had that hype, had that 300,000 people hype, and then just because they wanted a microtransaction and ruin the game, and everybody's like, F it. And what else had something similar, like First Descendant? Like, yeah, you could earn and grind and craft all of your gear, but those drops, like, there's games with bad drops, you know? Like, you can play Diablo or Path of Exile, and you're just like, damn, I'm getting unlucky with the drops, you know? But this was something different. This was First Descendant was a whole new level, bro. And you could just buy it. Why spend 2 days doing the same loop? 2 days doing the same loop when you could just spend the money and knock it out in 5 minutes.
Guild Wars 3 is coming to PC, Steam, and PlayStation 5, which is the first time a Guild Wars game has ever been on console. And honestly, this is where my biggest concern comes in. They're calling it an action-adventure MMORPG and describing the combat as emphasizing strategic skill use, positioning and movement where action RPG combat meets Guild Wars build making. Collins said the combat has been designed from the ground up to feel great on both controller and mouse and keyboard. Now, that's a nice thing to say, and we've heard similar promises time and time again, but historically, when an MMO tries to cater to both PC and console, what usually happens is neither feels amazing. In fact, I can't think of a single console-PC crossplay MMO that has truly exceptional combat. I think New World was probably the best we've seen, but even that had a lot of issues. With the combat needing to work on controller, it likely...
What would you say was New World's biggest issue? Because I played it for a little bit when it first came out, but it just seemed kind of dry to me. Like I like the combat, I like the dodging, blocking, rolling. I like that. I like the parrying. I liked you know, you had a small set amount of skills, like you know, you're not sitting there like dang World of Warcraft with 27 skills. You had, you know, your basic skills and weapons and whatnot. But what was it? Did it just get dry? Like the content that they were releasing was just not really hitting, huh? Like I don't know. I don't think I stuck with the game long enough to give a true decisive like factor on like where that game failed.
It means fewer skills, more action-oriented gameplay, and probably some kind of target lock. Beyond just the combat itself, I'd also expect the compromise to extend to the scale of the game. Cross-platform console MMO action combat only kinda works in small fights. Once you start adding too many players on screen, you run into player collision issues, desync, and the whole thing just starts falling apart like we saw with New World during Territory Wars. So I'm not just capping my expectations on the combat being maybe a 7 out of 10 at best, but I'm also expecting Guild Wars 3 to be more of an MMO-lite rather than massively multiplayer. And this was actually...
Which, that doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. Like, when I first started playing Guild Wars 2 and Vampire hopped in and he took me to the Shatter, right? There was like 50 people at least. And it was cool. Like that scale and chaos, it's cool, it is fun. But it also feels like am I even really doing anything? Like, you know? Like, am I really doing anything? Like, does it matter that I'm here? I'm sure I made it go slightly faster. You know, but like if it is a smaller scale, I feel like each person has more of an impact.
backed up by the Aeon 2 producer, who in an interview said there's a directional difference between the two games. That Aeon 2 focuses more on massive numbers of players, where the more users, the more fun, whereas Guild Wars 3 is more about segments of small groups playing that makes the gameplay more fun. So it seems like even other developers in the space are aware that Guild Wars 3 is going for a more smaller scale experience, which to me further suggests that it's going to lean more MMO-lite rather than traditional MMO. I hope I'm wrong, of course, but honestly this does seem like the direction that the genre is heading in general. Both Arcade Chronicles and Chrono Odyssey describe their combat systems in a very similar way, and both are scaled.
I did the Chrono Odyssey test. The other game, Arcade, I haven't even played that. I don't even know anything about that, about the loop on it. But Chrono Odyssey, sure, had its bugs, had its problems, but I will tell you one thing. I liked it. I still liked it. Alright? I think they need to dial the character creation. Like, because you could just make a dang mutant if you wanted to. You could make your guy literally SpongeBob and Squidward. Like their character creation was so open. But I think when they tighten up the bugs, tighten up the graphics, I do think that game's going to be fun. And it's heavy on the action part. It's not tab target like at all. It's mainly action, which that was a big mess up on them because their hitboxes were crazy. They got a lot of work to do, but if they actually do the work, I see it being fun. But but there's always a medium, right? Like Guild Wars 3 doesn't have to necessarily go like that heavy and shrink the scale of the game that much. But you don't necessarily have to be wide open, right? You don't have to have a million players on there and just click attack. Like, you can add a little more action to it, slightly scale it down, like, you know what I mean? And then adjust as time goes. Like, AreaNet seems really good about it. And like how we looked at the stats, like the peak player count isn't far off from their concurrent player count. So they I feel like do a pretty good job at keeping their player base satisfied. But this is coming from a new guy. I'm new to the game.
Scaling down the massively multiplayer side in favor of more MMO-lite experiences to accommodate console releases. I do get why they do it though. MMOs are incredibly expensive to make and developers need as many players as possible for the product to be financially viable. So opening up to console just makes sense, even if it comes with compromises. Of course, ArenaNet could be the exception here and figure out something special that doesn't require those compromises. But I'd rather remain cautiously optimistic on this point, rather than expecting them to do something that's literally never been done before. As for an estimated release date, Guild Wars 3's beta is scheduled for fall 2027, so we've got well over a year before we can even get our hands on it. And a full release probably not happening until 2028 at the earliest.
I don't think it's going to come out in 28. Like, this beta has to be damn near perfect. Especially if they're doing a console release as well. Yeah. No. 29's pushing it. I say 30. I bet you it comes out in 30. 28, I wish. I hope.
When it comes to the wider Guild Wars franchise, though, ArenaNet have confirmed they're committed to developing all 3 Guild Wars games simultaneously.
Yep.
Guild Wars 1 is being actively developed under a separate game director with its own dedicated team. As for Guild Wars 2, game director Josh Davis said there won't be a new expansion for the next 18 months, but there will be quality of life updates, a new World vs. World Borderlands map, which is actually the first World vs. World map in years, and a large-scale modernization pass where they're going to spend nearly a full year going back through each era of Guild Wars 2's content and bringing the older stuff up to current standards. They're also building a...
And apparently they've even slightly done it before, because when I was playing base game and Living World Season 1, people were coming in my chat and being like, oh, back in the day, you used to have a group of 5 to do this, but they redid it to make it soloable, to get through the story. Or back in the day, this used to be, which is cool that they're doing that, continuing to do that. because I do think Guild Wars 3 is only going to bring in more people to 2. Like 2's going to have people that want a more classic experience. If 3 doesn't scratch that itch that they want from a more classic MMO experience, they'll probably go to 2 or even Reforged, which I haven't even checked Reforged. I've only heard good things though.
Hall of Monuments 2.0 system, which will let you carry over your Guild Wars 2 achievements into Guild Wars 3.
Oh, that's
which is
sick.
a really nice touch for veteran players.
That's
and
sick.
Also a reason to go play Guild Wars 2 prior to the Guild Wars 3 release.
Hey, we're ahead of the game,
and
baby.
they're also making a new open world map set in ore, which will serve as a free narrative bridge between the two games. In a follow-up live stream on June 9th, Davis also confirmed that the Guild Wars 2 team is not being moved over to work on Guild Wars 3. They have separate internal studios, and that after Guild Wars 3 ships, they will return to full annual expansions for Guild Wars 2, so it's not being abandoned. Honestly, the reason why I haven't played too much Guild Wars 2 in the past few years is that since the Guild Wars 3 rumors started, I actually assumed it would be abandoned, or at the very least not receive any more expansions. With ArenaNet directly saying that they're going to keep updating it, I certainly feel more inclined to jump back in and keep playing.
Oh yeah.
But here's the thing that caught my attention though. Colin said during the announcement video that all 3 games will share the world of Tyria. They are intentionally very different in design, in experience, and where they sit on the timeline. On the surface, this sounds great. 3 games, all supported and all different. But if you read between the lines, intentionally very different in design could mean that fan favourite features from Guild Wars 2 like World vs World, the massively multiplayer map meta events, or even structured PvP won't make it into Guild Wars 3 because ArenaNet doesn't want the games competing with each other. That's my concern anyway, and I hope I'm wrong, because
I don't know. I don't know if I look at it like that. I look at it as a way if you have the exact, which I think they will add that. I think they'll have PvP or some sort of guild versus guild, like, you know, they'll have that in there, but it's not going to be the same. And do you really want to cannibalize your audience? You know what I mean? Like, they're keeping all 3 going because it's 3 different games, and you want to have like different aspects in each game. Like World vs World probably won't work as well in 3 if it's a different type of play style that is successful in 2 because of the certain play style that 2 has. So if it has a more action combat in 3 to where you have it works better with smaller groups, why would you put such a large scale event in it, like knowing that it's not going to work, it's not going to be as good as it is in Guild Wars 2? You know what I mean? I think they'll have some aspect of it. They might have some sort of they're definitely going to have PvP, come on now. But no, if you want to play World vs World, go play 2. Like, that's why they have the different games. I'm not gonna hop on Fortnite and complain that it's not Call of Duty.
Guild Wars 2 has some amazing features that I don't want left out of Guild Wars 3 just because they want to keep supporting the old game. I hope that supporting the old games doesn't hinder the potential of the new one, if that makes sense. Hey, Editing Peon here. Whilst this video was being edited, ArenaNet dropped a new blog post on June 16th, where Colin basically laid out the core philosophy behind Guild Wars 3, and it pretty much confirmed everything that I was concerned about. He described Guild Wars 3 as sitting near the middle of the MMO spectrum between Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 1 being the small-scale instanced end, and Guild Wars 2 being the giant-scale open-world massive battles end. And he specifically said that Guild Wars 3 doesn't try to replicate the large-scale gameplay pillars that so uniquely define Guild Wars 2. And the reason he gave is exactly as I thought. He said, "This ensures that all 3 of our games can coexist as different experiences." So yeah, it does seem like Guild Wars 3 is going to be a deliberately smaller scale game than Guild Wars 2.
But why is that such a negative thing? I don't know. Why is that negative? Do y'all think that's a negative thing? I mean, I don't sit there and be like, yeah, that's better, but I really don't look at it as a negative thing, a negative aspect.
And they are intentionally keeping features separate across the 3 games so they don't compete with each other, which is both understandable, but also disappointing if you was hoping for a modern version of Guild Wars 2 like I was. On a more positive note,
but you are getting a modern version. They said that they're going to continuously update Guild Wars 2, and they're revamping it. You said that in your own video.
He also doubled down on the business model, no subscription, no battle pass, as well as confirming. I'd say this recent info has dropped my hype levels down from a 7 out of 10 to a 5 or a 6 out of 10.
Oh my god!
Obviously, we'll have to wait and see the
scale. Oh, and he's all sad. We can visually see.
Of 10 to a 5 or a 6 out of 10. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see the specifics of what multiplayer features do make it into the game, but it does kind of seem like a game that's being made for a different audience. Overall,
yeah. Okay, I think it feels like he wants them to to end Guild Wars 2 and then make Guild Wars 3 like Guild Wars 2. But crazy larger, which obviously I think would be sick. Don't get me wrong. That would be sick. That would be like crazy hype. But I think from the jump they said that's not what they were going to do. So I don't feel like my expectations were ever that though from the beginning. Like we knew that they were going to still continue to work on Guild Wars 2 and then this is going to be a more action version, which is cool. But then I look at it as if like Guild Wars 3 isn't your cup of tea, like just go and play the new content of Guild Wars 2 when it's out.
I'm happy to see Guild Wars 3 announced. The most interesting aspect to me sounds like the movement system and how it ties into the combat, and I think my enjoyment of the game rests entirely on ArenaNet's ability to make a fun action combat system, considering it's likely not going to have any of my favourite features from Guild Wars 2. It seems like the future of MMORPGs is innovation by dropping the first M and going console crossplay, because we appear to have lost the technology and willpower to make anything that requires more than 5 to 10 players. Honestly, I really just wanted a modern version of Guild Wars 2 because that game engine is like 20 years old at this point. Maybe the MMO-lite fears aren't as bad as I'm worried they will be, but at this point, I've got PTSD from games using the term MMORPG purely for marketing, then quietly dropping it altogether as it gets closer to a release. Either way, I guess we'll find out in full 2027 when we finally get the chance to play it. But that's it for this video. As always, let me know your thoughts on Guild Wars 3 in the comments below. And what would you specifically like to see from Guild Wars 3 that differentiates it from the previous games?
More action combat, better graphics. I think that's about it. You know what I mean? I want to possibly block and parry. And like a closer scale of combat. That's actually what I want. I like the Lazy Peon. I think this is a great video. Y'all should give him a like. Go check out the video. Give him a subscribe. Give him a like. Give him a sub. Lazy Peon's the GOAT.